Welcome everyone to our Business Central What's New and Improved for Spring 2023 webinar. I'm Marie Soleil. I'm going to be your presenter today, and we're going to walk through improvements included in Wave 1 of the releases for Business Central this year, so the first major update of the year. In this release, once again, Microsoft is releasing improvements and new features that make working with Business Central easier, and many of those improvements comes from ideas submitted by either users like you or partners like us at Open Door. So a reminder that you can go to experience.dynamics.com/ideas, log in using your Microsoft 365 credentials, so the same as Office or Business Central, and you can search to see if your idea was already submitted or to look at existing ideas to review them. You can vote for ideas or create new ones. You can also comment on existing ideas that you like or if you have questions about them, and then share the link to the idea with your colleagues and partners. So you can email me with the link saying I created an idea, and we can then share with colleagues too and other partners, because the ideas that get the most votes, that are the most popular, will often get on the roadmap and be released in Business Central. We will jump right away in Business Central so we can take a look at the improvements coming with this version. First improvement we want to look at is one that helps you find information in Business Central. We spend up to 20% of our time looking for things and searching for information in the system. There is a new function in Business Central to now search across all data that's relevant to your role, which saves you time and makes you find information more easily. You can start a search from your role center by using a keyboard shortcut that is Control-Alt-F. It will open the search and company data. You see that this function is currently in preview and will be released with the new version. And you can text search, so you can enter one word or several words to do a search. You tab out of the field, and the system will sift through all the tables and report back on the items that are found that contain your keywords. I use a simple one, chair, so I'm finding mostly items and sales and purchase information. I can expand to see all the results and then navigate to the actual entries, in this case, item cards. I could also refine results or where the system is searching, because I can show the tables I want to search and specify them, and I can further refine that by applying filters to that search. So this is really useful when you want to search across the application to see where a code might be used or where certain data resides without having to click around and go to specific areas to find the information. A small but mighty improvement where we get asked often if we can set specific permissions to hide or show the post options on documents, where a user can select ship or invoice or ship an invoice. In the user setup, you will see new fields here where you can allow the posting of the invoice by a user. If not allowed, if prohibited, they only will be allowed to ship, and they will only see the ship option in the button. Or if mandatory, then the button will show and it will be ship an invoice or invoice that will be available. So this drives the behavior of what the user sees, but also what they're allowed to do. So we don't have to create custom permissions to be able to manage the different functions. You can set this up for sales documents and purchase documents in the user setup. That is when you'll be updated to the latest version. It is now available for scheduling. So you will have the new version coming soon in the next weeks. Another small improvement that was requested by many for good reason, when you go to statistics on records or when you're in journals and you see tabular data like this one, the alignment was very consistently off, which made the data difficult to read. All those pages have been updated so that the data and the headers are aligned. You saw this too on the apply entries page, where at the bottom it was misaligned and difficult to read. You see it also on the journal pages. So no more misalignments. With this update, the headers will automatically align based on the data that is presented. I'm going to switch to a sales order to look at the next one. So there have been improvements on its 182 pages that have been updated to the changes I'm going to present now. The action bar and personalization has been updated so you can add more fields and move things around more easily. The menus have been cleaned up too, but the big improvement is that you can move actions across areas on the bar when you personalize. For example, when I work with sales order lines, I have to go to line, related information, item tracking line to then open the page and be able to enter my serial or lot number or to select them. You don't need to do that anymore. You can simply personalize to slide and put the button directly on the line ribbon here, and you can pin that ribbon so that it stays there and is easily accessible. There's still the shortcut, so the keyboard shortcut available, but for people who like to work with a mouse, you can customize the menus like this so that you clean up and remove what you don't need and just keep what you need close at hand. You can do the same thing with the top action bar here, where you can move actions between groups. You'll also notice that I have less buttons than you might currently have on your menu. That's because some buttons have been removed. So the navigate button is no longer there. It's been, so the actions that were under it are under the entity button. So the entity button is this one. I'm on an order, it says order. On a customer, it's the one that says customer, vendor, it says vendor, etc. So the actions are all located under this one. Now they've been merged. The home button is what used to be the process button, and process is no longer there on any page. It was left over on some pages, but now it has been fully standardized so that you have a consistent view across the board. So all of these things are important because, and you've had me in training sessions for some of you, the first thing I tell you is personalize your pages to keep what you need to use and get the clutter away so that you can get to information in the least number of clicks as possible. That supports that method and makes it much easier to work with the system. Now I'm going to move to posted sales lines. That's a fairly new page. So you have posted sales invoice lines, posted purchase invoice lines, sales lines, etc., that are all shown on lists. So those pages are available and show you a list of data and are very useful for ad hoc reporting or queries. What you used to do up to now is that you would go and open an Excel to pivot or sum up the amounts or filter or analyze. There is a new function, that one here, the analyze data function, So the analysis mode is a new way to interacting with that data on list pages specifically. So instead of running reports by using filters or exporting to Excel and manipulating the data as I just described, you can simply switch to analysis mode and work from Business Central directly. So you can create an analysis list that could be my customers or recently sold items or items that are the most sold. You can cut the data, slice and dice it to review it. You have two main components when you look at the screen. So there's the data here, and there is the field modifier area that I'm going to expand here. So on that page, you can control the fields you want to see. So you could decide to exclude, say, the unit price here and the line discount because you don't need to see them. Then I would like to see my data, say, per item. So I will go and grab the number and I will create a grouping. And now what I can do too is if I select specific areas in my data that I grouped, I can have a count of my rows. I can have an average value. I can have my min-maxes. I can have a sum that is showed up. So I can review and analyze this data without, again, having to go out to Excel and manipulate the data. Furthermore, once you're in analysis mode and you've created a table and you want groupings, well, you might want to switch to pivot mode, where it creates a pivot table for you. And then you can use it as a view. You can also add filters to the analysis if you want. So you could filter on specific document numbers and types, or a specific customer to see what they bought for a period. So you can create analysis like that very easily from inside Business Central. You can give them a name. You can copy them and then rearrange them to create different variations, say 1 tab per item type. And then once you toggle off your analysis mode, you go back to the regular list. And if you toggle back on, it stays. So you don't have to go back, export, reformat, pivot. You just have to create your various views here, and they will remain accessible when you need them. You will still be using, Excel, Jet Reports, your Power BI for more advanced analysis, but those ad hoc analysis that you were doing by exporting data and manipulating it, you no longer need to do that because you can have saved views or templates in Business Central that you can use. The tracking and journals has been improved. And that also had been requested for a long, long time. So in item journals, you now have this new field where you can activate the item tracking on the lines. By default, and currently in the version we have, you have to navigate to the item tracking to go and select lot numbers or serial numbers. It's also very difficult to import this data because you have to work with the reservation table entries, reservation entry table, I should say, to populate the data. Now, if you activate this function, what you see is that on the journal line, I can now insert my item tracking information. There's no need for me to navigate and do additional clicks. I can use the edit in Excel to populate the data. I can also use a configuration package to load my journal, including the serial lot number information and expiration warranty dates directly in the journal. If you do use the directed picking functions or advanced warehousing, you can activate the function on the physical warehouse journals, and you make all item tracking fields available. And that also in that journal includes the expiration and warranty dates. Another neat feature is around the numbering series for document numbers. So you typically would have a numbering series assigned to journals, and sometimes it's the same across batches, and you enter lines and you get an error when you come to post that says the document number must be T0002 on those lines before you can post, because the system is keeping track of the numbering series and what the next number should be. Your current option is to renumber all the lines manually, which can take a lot of time. There is now a new action under the functions. It is called renumber document numbers. When you click on there, it will update all your lines to go to the number, the next number available in the numbering series. That way you can avoid having posting errors and make sure that your documents are numbered correctly in journals. That is available in the item journal, but also available in other journals through Business Central. You have another series of improvements around the transfer orders. So on the transfer orders, create a new one. You have mandatory fields that are more clearly indicated. And as you fill out your transfer order and select options, for example, I will select direct transfer. You see that dynamically the in-transit code was removed as mandatory. You will see that on other pages to better guide you so that what appears to be mandatory really is mandatory in your current context based on your selections. So it makes it easier for users to enter the correct data without seeing, red asterisks where they want to fill out information. There's also a new button, select items. Instead of adding items one by one, I can use the select items function to go and select various items. I'm trying to pick ones that are in stock so that I can transfer them. So you can select the items, and when you click on OK, it will fill the lines for you with the items. You're left with having to complete the quantity, obviously, and completing your shipment and then receipt of the transfer. But this lets you enter transfer orders more easily by selecting several items at once. There is now a posting preview on transfer orders, assembly orders, and various other journals and pages so that you can review the entries that will be created by the posting. This was previously not available. And there is a batch post function. So similar to what you see on the sales orders or purchase orders, you can process batches, so filtered by date or with a range of locations or transfer order numbers. So you can apply filters, select the action you want to take, and process them at once. The system will post what can be posted, what can't will be left for your review. Still on transfer orders. This one was also long awaited. You can undo shipments. So that was not an option that was available on transfer shipments. You can now undo transfer shipments if a quantity was incorrect or if the shipment was made incorrectly or needs to be reversed. You can do that on shipment lines. Obviously, you cannot undo a posted transfer shipment if the item is reserved. To do that, you would have to remove the reservation. And you can't undo a transfer shipment if it was received at the other end. In that case, you would have to do a reverse transfer to be able to do the reversal. But if you just shipped and need to correct, you can do it easily by just using that undo shipment function. One for finance. We get excited with updates to finance because this stays the same for a long time and we don't get a ton of improvements in that area. We have one new one. Review GL entries is the name of the function. When you go to GL accounts, you will have a new review policy field. You can leave it to none, which means that the accounts will not be included in the review page. You can allow review, which activates the function. I'm going to show it right after this. You can allow review, but in the review, you have to force to match the balance. That is used when you do account audits and want to review the data and mark it as reviewed and cleared. We often do that in Excel when we do reconciliation exercises, and we use nice color-coded and notes in the worksheets. Well, with the review entries, when you toggle the mode, you can select entries and then review them and then mark them as reviewed. It will flag the entry as reviewed by your user with the date time it was reviewed, and there's an identifier, and then, you know, this entry goes with this one. It's reviewed, it's cleared, and then eventually you're left with only your exceptions to manage and investigate. So it leaves a trace of the reconciliation exercise or validation exercise in Business Central itself, so you don't have to attach backup Excel spreadsheets as we do now. So it's a very useful feature for finance users who do audits or reconciliations. I'm going to quickly switch back to the slides here because there is a ton in this release. I skipped over some features. I encourage you to root around in the release notes. The Shopify connector will also be improved to support returns and refunds, and it is also extensible now. It used to be that we could not customize the connector. Now we can. So you have additional options to make the connector fit specific scenarios you have. There are more sample Power Automate templates and Power Apps. And there's also a new option to use what are called business events to notify and trigger external systems. For example, you can use Power Automate to subscribe to Business Central, like say the posting of a sales invoice, so that when a sales invoice is posted, it triggers an action in another non-Business Central, non-Microsoft system, like say retrieving said sales order and sending them to an external portal or sending it to an invoicing service that you use to distribute the invoices. There are new, better, clearer error messages. I know that's a big one. That's one we like to as partners because it gives you more guidance. So the error messages are shorter, but to the point, and provide additional information, such as specifically in the examples we see, the item number and the line number. And you can still copy the details, which we want when we contact us, but you do not need when you look at your page and it creates a giant error message. So it's streamlined. You can still send us the detail, but you also, if you look at the one to the right, you have an error here saying that you can't update the sales order because it's released. You would need to reopen. You have the reopen button on the error message instead of having to navigate to the top and then find the button to reopen it. So you can take action directly from the message. There are many improvements around environment management. You can recover environments if you accidentally delete them, not companies, full environment. You can restore at previous points in time. There will be a change between user groups and security groups, so there will be a rename coming, but that will help you set up access directly through your admin center for Office. and Active Directory. So this one is good for the admin people who will be able to create user groups and assign Business Central permissions without having to go in Business Central to manage the permissions. Automatic account codes. You can preset allocations and save time by using automatic account codes to allocate recurring transactions. So you can use their specific posting groups, actually, and they will trigger automatic allocations so you can avoid the month-end recurring entries. You preset a code, and as you post journal entries through the month, the allocations will be done behind the scenes through that code. You can allocate to GLs. You can also allocate to dimensions. This one is a big one. You can sync data across companies. In multi-companies environments, you can define a quote-unquote master company and synchronize information to other companies. You can define detailed coupling, detailed mappings, and it will be very useful if you want to keep, say, the same chart of accounts, or if you want the customer accounts to be created in one company and then in all companies, because you don't want to have to go and type them in each. So the sync data, or master data sync as it's called, will be very useful. There are more improvements in that release. So you have previews on exchange rate adjustments and controls on dimensions, statistical accounts. Another thing, they have a couple treats for accountants in this release. Statistical accounts are new. You can also have alternate or substitute posting groups for payables and receivables to make it easier to, say, write off bad debt or move entries to a specific account. Advanced warehousing will be simplified. The intercompany setup will now be done from one page with some validations telling you what steps or what mappings might be mismatched and you would want to update. And shipping and receiving has been updated so that you can ship and receive non-inventory items and also GL accounts, so that the posted shipments and receipts match what's on the order with all the lines. So you will have access to the recording of the session, obviously. You also have access to the release plan. I recommend you take a look at this one because there is a ton of interesting changes. Several features we saw today are available in the new version. Others are available in preview with feature management. Oh, there's one question that I see. The question is, when do these updates get rolled out? So that's a very good question. So if you self-manage your updates, you do have to watch out for announcements. You will get notifications. You will also see release dates on the release plan. This release is available now for scheduling. So you should go and schedule your updates of your sandbox environment first. Push away the update of production so it doesn't update at the same time as sandbox. Review in your sandbox environment and then schedule your production environment. You should also make sure to update your wraps that are installed on your environments, and then again, roll out those updates to production. All of this will be done for you if you subscribe to the update protection plan. So in that case, it's hands-off. Scheduling will start and you will receive notifications from the team that the updates are scheduled and started. Well, thank you for your time today. If you do have additional questions, you can contact us. You can also book a consult if there's a specific process you'd like to review. And you have a good day. Thank you.